Thanks for joining me today. I want to go through and cover the topic of doing the match contributions in your 401k or your employer retirement plan. Here's the big thing. There's a lot of controversy. I've seen a lot of different information and videos and other people talking about the fact that 401ks are horrible. They're just not what they're meant to be. So let's break down a little bit of a different angle on a 401k and understand it first before we talk about that match contribution, okay? The 401ks benefit the employer. I'm going to say that right off the bat that they really do, because a couple different factors. They go through, and if they're giving you some type of a contribution or retirement plan through them, then they feel that you may not switch jobs so easily. And it is really expensive to go through and try and train somebody, and it's hard to find good people, and you really don't want to have your business interrupted by the employees jumping ship and going someplace else. So if there's some way to go through and give you a benefit or an opportunity that's going to get you to stay, well, that's a plus for the employer, okay? Number two is for every dollar that you pay in Social Security, the employer has to match that. So if they can give you a contribution to a 401k, yeah, that is going to be a tax benefit for them because they just gave you the contribution and they don't have to match the Social Security payments of that. So that's also a benefit to them, okay? So we'll just get that out, air that right off the bat. So how can you make the 401k or the retirement plan work for you and be beneficial to you, okay? First off, you have to take a look at some of the different options that your employer may offer as to whether the plan is really structured well for you to be able to win. Number one, do they do match contributions? Number two, what do they match the contributions with? So sometimes they give two different percentages and it can be kind of confusing. It might sound something like this. We will match 5% of your income with 15%. And that right there confuses most individuals, as it probably would me back in the day. So let's break it down. The 5% of your income, that's pretty easy to understand, because whatever you make throughout the year, they're going to take 5% of that. And if you put that into the fund, that's what they're going to go through and match, okay? Now, sometimes they do not do that on commission or bonuses or overtime. So that's going to have to find out. That's pretty simple, just based right there upon where your income is as to the fact that they're going to match 5%. Okay, now matching with 15%, that's the difficult part to understand. So instead of saying percent, or instead of looking at percent, change it to cents, okay? So if they're going to match 5% of your income with 15%, or 15 cents. So that means for every dollar you put in, they're going to match it with 15 cents. One way to look at that is that's a 15% rate of return without even doing anything with the market. I like that idea. So they're going to match it with 50%, that's 50 cents. If they're going to go through and match it with 5%, 5 cents. And obviously they're going to match it 100%, that is dollar per dollar. And some of you do have that opportunity to get dollar matches on the money that you put in. That to me is really great. I had an individual come in not too long ago that works for the city, and they go through and match 10% of his income up to dollar per dollar. And he wasn't putting anything in whatsoever because he didn't like the stock market, doesn't understand the stock market, so he wasn't going to participate. And for all the years that he worked at his job, he didn't get any of that match contribution. So that is a really big deal to understand what percentage are going to match, and if they do have a matching contribution, you want to try and at least put that much in to get that match contribution, okay? Now, there's a couple ways of going through and doing that. You could possibly do it as a traditional, or you could possibly do it as a Roth. So that's another question to ask, is whether they have Roth opportunities, and then understand the difference between the traditional and the Roth. I'm going to kind of cover it quickly because I have other videos that cover that also, the difference between a Roth versus an IRA, and it's the same in the 401k plan. So just real lightly, if you turn around and put money into the traditional, you're going to get it as a tax benefit this year. And then whatever it grows to, you're going to owe all the taxes on it later, or your heirs are going to. If you do it into the Roth contribution, you're going to pay taxes on that money this year. But then no matter what it grows to in the future, you nor your beneficiaries will ever pay taxes on that ever again. So please review that. I'm pretty strong-hearted on doing the Roth, paying the taxes while you can this year, and going through and getting that tax benefit in the future, I think is really, really awesome. But here's the big confusion. A lot of people honestly think that if they do the Roth contribution, they won't get the match. And that when you read some of that in the brochures or you're talking to different people, it kind of sounds that way. But here's the truth to that. The match contribution from the employer can never, ever go to the Roth. The match contribution has to go to the traditional. Okay? Let's think about why. I said that in the beginning, that if the employer turns around and gives you money as a match contribution, they're going to take that as a tax deduction. So there's no way the IRS is going to give that to them as a tax deduction and then turn around and let them put it into your Roth and you never pay taxes on it. That would be a double whammy against the IRS. And that, guys, is never going to happen, right? So the contributions have to go into the traditional. Yes, later on, you'll have to pay the taxes on whatever that match contribution is and whatever it's grown to. I do agree with that. But you still could put your money into the Roth, paying the taxes today and avoiding all the taxes in the future, okay? You also want to take a look at the fact that going through and putting money into the retirement plan at work benefits the employer, as I said, can benefit you though too, because you're picking up this match contribution and you're gaining whatever the market is going to do for you. So at least you're in the market and playing. Or maybe you choose even just to go into the money market account and have no risk at all, but get that match contribution. So two ways that you can leave that 401k is, number one, when you hit 59.5, most employers will allow you to move the money out of the 401k and into your own investment strategies. I highly recommend looking at that, okay? Number two is if you ever end or leave service, you can turn around and move that money from that retirement plan into your own traditional retirement plan outside of work, or you could roll it into a new employer. I, again, highly recommend do not roll it into the new employer. Move it into your own account so that you can manage it and have access to it in a much different way than if it's tied up into a employer program. So that's where some of that controversy comes when people say, oh, you know, the 401ks are no good. It's because of the fact that there are restrictions on them, there are challenges with them, but if you can move the money out at 59.5, or you can move the money out whenever you end employment, that is fantastic. Here's the last thing I want to touch on, and that's match contributions. If you go through and doing the match contributions, there's probably going to be a vesting period. Remember I said that the match contributions, them giving you a benefit, maybe you'll stay employed with them. They don't want you to leave, all right? So they usually will do a vesting period. It could be anywhere from 2 years to 7 years that you have to be employed in order to get to keep all of the money that they've given you as a vesting. Now, if you end up leaving, you get the interest that money earned. It's just that that money may have to go back. And my question always is, if it has to go back, so if you don't have the full vested amount, who does that money go back to? And the answer that everybody always says is, I guess the employer. And that's not actually it. The money goes back to the plan and goes back to all those individuals who are participating in the plan. Yeah, so if you ever are in a plan like that, at the end of the year, you take a look, and it'll say employer match contribution, other matched contributions. That's money from people who are not vested that left prematurely, and you're actually getting a piece of their money because you're part of the program. So I always say as a joke, don't do this, but I always say as a joke, so get everybody participating in the plan and get them fired as quick as you can so you can get their money. Again, that is a joke. Hopefully compliance doesn't have a real problem with that it's a joke. But anyways, you do want to try and get everybody, though, that works with you invested or working into the retirement plan, because the more people participating, the bigger the plan, usually the more discounts that you will get, because there are expenses on doing these types of plans, and sometimes it's very difficult to figure out what those expenses are. But I can tell you, as more people participate, as more money grows in that plan, the expenses become less. So you really do want to get everybody at work understanding it and participating in the retirement plan. So for me, I'm going to tell you, I think the best route to go is participate if there's match contributions. If your company does not have match contributions, then I probably would look at doing something traditional outside of work and not actually doing the 401k because of the restrictions and the costs. Only if there's match contributions do you want to look at that. So with that note, if there's match contributions up to, say, 5% of your income and you want to save more than that, then maybe look at, once you get that 5% maxed, taking and investing outside of work in an individual account. And once you've maxed that out, that you want to put away more for retirement, then go back to the retirement plan at work. That's how we look at it as far as being planners. If you're not totally sure of that concept, get together with a planner. You can always contact us. We'd be more than happy to explain, look at your plan documents. But take advantage of those match contributions. They're meant for you to be able to receive. A lot of times people will say, well, geez, just ask for it as an extra pay in your pension or your benefit. You're not going to probably get it. The only way you're going to get those match contributions is to participate with the plans. So you should really understand the plan that you have. I hope this has been helpful. Until we talk again, be safe.